The new car in the driveway sparkled like betrayal in sunlight. Scarlet red custom plates, top trim model. It shouldn't have been there. Not at my parents' house. Not with my money. I slammed my car door shut, the echo sharp enough to turn a few neighbour heads. Across the concrete, my younger cousin Clara spun in circles next to the sports car like she'd just married it. "Oh my God, isn't she stunning?" She beamed, running her acrylics along the hood. I blinked slowly. The car, she said like it was obvious. Her name is Phoenix. Fitting. Phoenixes rise from ashes. Shame this one was built out of mine. I should probably introduce myself. I'm Dana, 29, financial analyst, reluctantly responsible oldest child of the Miller clan, and as of this moment, very much not okay. My fingers tightened around my keys. "Where did you get the money for this?" Clara's glossy pink lips pulled into a grin. "From that family emergency fund you set up, remember?" I nearly choked. That account was for actual emergencies, medical stuff, maybe a funeral. Not I waved at the car. Phoenix. "Oh, come on." She rolled her eyes. "You're always saying how important it is to look successful. I have interviews coming up." For what I asked flatly. "You dropped out of design school 6 months ago, remember? Or are you interviewing to be an influencer again?" Behind her, my aunt and uncle sipped Prosecco like they were at a retirement party, not a crime scene. My aunt gave me a sheepish look, the kind that always said, "Don't cause a scene." She needed something reliable, she said gently. "We just pulled from the fund to help her out. You're so good with money, Dana." I wanted to scream, but I didn't. Instead, I checked my banking app. Balance $140,237. I had been saving for a condo. 5 years of budgeting, skipping vacations, working overtime. Gone. All 50 grand. Spent. On Phoenix. "You emptied my account without asking." Clara blinked at me. "Don't be dramatic." I almost laughed. That money was my future. "No," she said, shrugging. "It was just sitting there. You're always saying family is everything." Funny. Family never seems to say it back with their wallets. I stared at her, then at my aunt. Whose name was on the account? "Yours," my uncle admitted. "You set it up. It was easiest that way." "Then I'm closing it." My aunt set down her glass. "Dana, don't." But I was already on the phone. "Hi, yes, this is Dana Miller. I'd like to close account number 803925, effective immediately." "Dana," my uncle barked. "Let's be reasonable." "Reasonable," I snapped. "You helped your daughter steal from me." "It's not stealing," Clara huffed. "It's just borrowing. You'll make it back. You're smart." I hung up the phone. "You're right," I said calmly. "I am smart, which is why I'll also be freezing all joint credit lines, unlinking my name from your car loan, and notifying the credit bureau about fraud if necessary." Silence. Glorious, stunned silence. Clara's mascaraed eyes widened. "Wait, what?" "You made a choice," I said. "Now I'm making mine." I turned toward my boring, practical sedan, still running strong at 160,000 miles, opened the door and paused. "Oh, and Clara?" She looked up, hopeful. "Enjoy the car. I hope the repo guy likes red." Then I drove off. You actually did it. Evan looked up from his laptop, a slow grin spreading across his face. Damn Dana. I sat across from him in our usual booth at Solstice Bar, nursing the strongest whiskey I could justify on a Wednesday. I think I'm in shock. Evan wasn't just my ex. He was also a cybersecurity analyst, and the only person I knew who could read a credit report like it was a crime scene. We'd stayed friends after the breakup, mostly because he was the only one who saw through my family's "Dana's fine, she's got it all together" act. He pushed a bowl of fries toward me. "You want the bad news or the worse news? Just hit me." He tapped a few keys, turning his screen toward me. "I pulled up the bank statements from your emergency fund. Looks like they've been draining it slowly for months. Not just the car. Groceries, online orders, a vacation rental 2 months ago." My throat tightened. I didn't even know they had access. "That shared login you set up in college still active? Still synced to your number?" I covered my face with my hands. They knew I wouldn't check it. They were counting on it. My phone buzzed again. "Clara, 5th time in the last hour. All caps, why would you do this to us?" Followed by a string of crying emojis. I tilted the phone so Evan could read it. "Classic," he muttered. "They steal your money and you're the villain for noticing." I laughed, but it came out brittle. They don't even see it as theft, just family support. You're not a trust fund, Dana, you're a person. The phone buzzed again, this time a voicemail from my aunt. I didn't need to listen. I knew the tone, the guilt, the you're tearing this family apart, the teary sighs. They're not stopping, are they? Evan asked. Nope, and they've got backup now. My uncle just texted me a screenshot of my grandma crying. Of course he did. She's never even seen the car. I took a long sip of whiskey, the burn steadying me. I can't believe I've been paying for their crap this whole time. Want to know something worse? Evan clicked to another tab. They used your name to co-sign Clara's lease last year, and her last 3 missed payments. Those are on your credit report. I stared at him. That's illegal? Yup, and here's the cherry on top. Your name's on a personal loan your uncle took out last spring. I blinked. What? He rotated the screen. He listed you as a guarantor. Forged e-signature and everything. The loan company's legit. They think you co-signed. I sat back, the room tilting slightly. This is deeper than I thought. Evan leaned in. Dana, this isn't just family drama anymore. It's identity theft, financial fraud. I looked down at my hands. They really thought I'd never notice. They were right until now. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a picture. Clara crying beside Phoenix. The caption, he says I can't keep it if the loan defaults. How could you do this to me? I held it up. She's still treating this like a breakup. Evan raised an eyebrow. Well, technically you did end a toxic relationship. I snorted, with my entire bloodline. We sat in silence for a few seconds. Then I asked, what's my next move? He leaned back, steepling his fingers. First, you pull every credit report linked to your name. We flag any fraudulent activity. Then you freeze your credit, notify the bureaus, and contact that loan agency with proof of identity theft. I nodded slowly. And after that, then we make sure you have receipts. Every screenshot, every text, every time they used your name without permission. I already started a folder, I said, pulling out my phone. Labelled it Operation Burn Book. Evan grinned. Now you're speaking my language. Just then my phone rang again. Same number. My aunt. Evan held out a hand. Put it on speaker. I hesitated, then tapped answer. Dana, my aunt's voice wobbled. Thank God. Listen, sweetie, we just need to talk, face to face. We can fix this. You mean I can fix it? I said evenly. She paused. That's not fair. Isn't it? You drained my savings, forged my signature, tanked my credit. For a car. It was for Clara. She snapped, the guilt mask slipping. She's trying to turn her life around. She's been turning in circles for years, I said coldly, and I'm done bankrolling her spins. There was silence. Then Dana, we're family. No, I said. Family doesn't lie and steal and call it love. Wait, don't hang up. Click! I set the phone down, heart thudding but steady. Evan raised his glass. To choosing yourself. I clinked mine against his. Finally. The repo guy came on a Tuesday. Clara was live streaming a makeup tutorial when the tow truck pulled into the driveway. Her scream echoed all the way through my apartment speaker, courtesy of my friend Lanny, who sent me the screen recording with a winking emoji and the caption, "Your cousin's meltdown just made my week." In the video, Clara ran out barefoot in a pink robe, mascara, streaked shrieking at the man as he calmly hooked Phoenix to the truck. My uncle stood behind her waving papers. My aunt tried to block the truck with her body like a low-budget soap opera. Lani paused the video. That one's going in my karma folder. I couldn't even muster a smile. I was too exhausted. Between credit freezes, affidavit filings, and half a dozen fraud reports, my life had turned into one long administrative nightmare. I'm tired, I said, rubbing my eyes, which is why I brought muffins, Lani declared, setting a bakery box on my counter. And this. She handed me an envelope. What's this? Proof. I opened it. Inside were photocopies of 3 applications, a credit card, a gym membership, and a pay later account from an online boutique. All of them had my name. All signed by someone else. Where did you get these? I used to work at that boutique, Lani said casually. Clara applied using your info. Said you were co-signing. I was suspicious, so I pulled the originals before I quit. Figured you might need them someday. I stared at her. You're a damn superhero. She shrugged. Just tired of watching people get away with crap because they're related. I added the evidence to my growing digital file titled Family Fraud Proof for Court. It was already 87 pages long. Just then, Evan walked in, laptop in one hand and coffee in the other. Newsflash, he announced. Your uncle tried to take out another loan this morning. Got denied. Why? Because his co-signer you is flagged for identity theft. That flag goes public across all institutions now. Good, I said. Let him experience what it's like to be broke with limits. Evan dropped into a chair. Also, Clara's trying to raise money on GoFundMe. What? He turned his laptop. Look, title, Help Me Save Phoenix. My only shot at independence. Goal $15,000. Story, my cousin cruelly froze. My accounts had my car repossessed and ruined my life out of jealousy. Please help me get back on my feet so I can keep working toward my dreams. I blinked. My savings was her dream car. Lani snorted. Your cousin thinks working toward her dreams means doing unboxing hauls on TikTok. Comments were already piling up. Some sympathetic, others sceptical. One in particular stood out. Didn't she say her toxic cousin paid for everything? Maybe the cousin got tired of being used. I love the internet, Evan said. She's spinning this into a pity campaign, I murmured, making me the villain. She can try, Lani said, but we've got proof. My phone vibrated, a new text from my aunt. Dana, please, if not for Clara, then for us. Your uncle's job might be at risk. He's stressed. He could end up in the hospital. Please just talk to the bank. Fix this. I showed the text to Lani. They're still trying the guilt angle. Lani raised an eyebrow. Let me guess, when you were 5, they used your birthday money for a family emergency. Exactly that, I said, lips curling. For Clara's ballet recital. I got a cupcake. She got a tiara. Evan's phone buzzed. He frowned. You might want to see this. He turned it around. A Facebook post from my aunt. It's so hard when family turns their back on you. We always believed in supporting each other, but sometimes greed poisons love. We're praying for healing. The comments were full of vague sympathies, some tagging Clara. A few even mentioned me by name. She's playing victim, I said flatly. Yeah, Evan said, but the receipts don't lie. I stood pacing. I need to shut this down before it spreads, before people believe her version. Lani nodded. Then tell yours publicly. I stopped. You think I should post? I think you should expose the truth, she said, with facts, screenshots, documents. Let them see what really happened. For a moment I hesitated, then I opened my phone, drafted a post. Hi, since my name keeps coming up in half-truths and pity posts, here's what really happened. I saved $50,000 for 5 years. That money was drained by my family without permission to fund a car I didn't approve for a cousin who hasn't held a job for more than 3 months. They also used my identity to open loans, credit lines and co-signed leases, some of which damaged my credit. I've filed official reports. I've frozen my accounts. I'm done being a financial scapegoat. If anyone wants proof, I have screenshots, signed applications, emails, texts, happy to share. This isn't revenge, it's boundaries, and it's long overdue. I hit post. Within minutes, the likes started rolling in. Then the comments. Good for you. Families like this drain people for years. Sounds like they picked the wrong cousin to mess with. I refreshed the page. Clara's GoFundMe gone, deleted quietly. An hour later, I got another text, this time from my uncle. I hope you're proud. You made your aunt cry. Clara's humiliated. You've embarrassed all of us. No apology, no acknowledgement, just shame deflection. Lani leaned over. You gonna reply? No, I said. They don't get access to me anymore. I didn't answer when the police knocked. Not right away. I'd been expecting them. The officer wasn't there for me, not in the you're under arrest way. He was there because I finally did what I should have done months ago, filed the report. Full name, full statement, full documentation. Every forged document. Every illegal charge. Every screen capture and audio file from voicemail threats. I'd turned over the file titled Evidence Dump Miller Family Fraud, and it had nearly broken their printer. Miss Miller, the officer said kindly when I let him in. We've reviewed your materials. It's enough to open a formal investigation. The credit card company already flagged suspicious activity. And the loan agency, I asked. He nodded. They're opening a civil fraud case. But with what you gave us, the DA might take it criminal. I didn't flinch. Good. That same morning, I'd gotten an email from Clara's lawyer, or rather, the man pretending to be one. His Gmail address was barely convincing. Subject: immediate cease and desist required. Message: you are engaging in defamation and slander. Remove all public accusations or face legal consequences. I forwarded it to Lunny. She replied in seconds, LOL. Not a lawyer, not even close. Evan confirmed it with a little digging. He got his law degree from a diploma mill in Nevada and sells crypto scams on the side. No bar license. I didn't respond to the fake lawyer. I just added the email to the folder titled Harassment Attempts Clara & Co. 3 days after my post went viral, the real storm hit. Clara went live on TikTok. She sat in her room, fairy lights twinkling behind her, sniffling into the camera. I just don't understand why she's doing this. I thought we were family. I thought we were close. She told me she'd always have my back, and now I'm losing everything. Cue fake tears, cue emotional piano music. Comments flew in. Some believed her, some didn't. But the top comment, liked over 18,000 times, said, "Then why did you steal her savings, Clara?" She ended the stream 5 minutes later. I thought that was the end of it. Then I got called into my boss's office. I'd been dreading this. My job, my real life, was untouched until now, but Clara had decided to throw everything against the wall to see what stuck. Garrett, my supervisor, looked serious but not angry. Dana, I got a very dramatic email this morning. I braced myself. She claims you're mentally unstable, that you fabricated a family feud to sabotage her job prospects. I blinked. Did she apply here? Garrett nodded. Last week, she listed you as her reference. I nearly laughed. She never finished college. She also claimed 3 years of financial analysis experience, said you trained her. Garrett, I said, pulling out my phone, you want documentation? I have everything. He raised his hand. No need. I've seen enough. We ran a background check. Everything was fake. She's not even eligible for a second interview. I exhaled. In fact, he said, leaning back, you've handled this with surprising professionalism. HR wants you to lead a fraud awareness initiative next quarter as a speaker. My mouth fell open. Seriously, you're a case study in red flags and restraint. We're impressed. That night I walked out of the office into the cold autumn air, something lighter in my chest. My world hadn't fallen apart. It had stabilized until my phone rang. Blocked number. I knew who it was before I answered. Dana, my aunt's voice was brittle. You didn't have to go this far. Funny, I said. I thought you'd say I'm sorry first. We're dealing with enough. Clara's in shambles. Your uncle is under review at work. You embarrassed us. I told the truth. You aired family business publicly. You stole from me privately for years. You didn't have to involve the police. I clenched my jaw. I didn't want to. You left me no choice. There was a pause. Then she said, your grandmother wants to talk to you. Of course she did. They always weaponized Grandma when guilt alone didn't work. She said you're being heartless. Then she should have raised better kids. Click. I blocked the number. I didn't pick up when my uncle called either, or when Clara posted another tearful video titled, What Happens When Your Cousin Ruins Your Life? I just kept going. Until the court date notice arrived. My case was officially under investigation. My family was being called in for questioning. Clara's car loan company had opened a fraud inquiry, and my identity theft claim was now a matter of public record. Lani and Evan helped me prep everything for court binders, backup drives, colour-coded post-its. I had enough evidence to bury a mid-sized Ponzi scheme. You ready for this? Evan asked the night before the hearing. I hesitated. Honestly, I don't know. You don't have to destroy them, he said quietly, but you do have to stop letting them destroy you. I nodded. That night I slept, not well, but deeply. It was the first time in months I hadn't dreamed about drowning. The courtroom felt smaller than I imagined. The air buzzed with fluorescent quiet, sterile and sharp. I sat alone on one side, my binder open, evidence tabbed like a college thesis. Across the aisle sat my aunt, uncle and Clara, all three in stiff dress clothes that didn't suit them. Clara wore white. Of course she did. When the clerk called my name, I stood hands dry but steady. The judge adjusted his glasses. Miss Dana Miller, You're here regarding a formal fraud claim filed against Clara Miller and her legal guardians. Please confirm, do you have legal counsel? I'm representing myself, I said. The judge nodded. Understood. Proceed. I started with my name, then the date the account was drained. I showed screenshots of the transactions, statements, forged leases, the fake job applications, the identity theft affidavit. I laid it all out, piece by clean-cut piece. When I handed the judge the signed loan documents with a signature that wasn't mine, he raised an eyebrow. You're saying they used your identity to secure this car loan? Yes, Your Honour. And you were not notified, nor did you consent? No. He flipped the page. And this lease? Also signed using my credentials without permission. Clara squirmed in her seat. Then it was her turn. She stood slowly, arms crossed. Your Honour, I didn't know. My parents handled everything. I was just trying to build a life. Dana always said she'd help if I needed her. My aunt piped up. We're a family. Families support each other. We assumed it was fine. You assumed, the judge repeated. She's always been the one with money, my uncle added. We didn't think she'd mind. Didn't think she'd mind, the judge echoed, voice rising. You submitted forged documentation using her identity for financial gain. Whether she has $5 or $5 million is irrelevant. Clara's lip trembled. She humiliated me online. She turned everyone against me. I lost my car. I lost everything. I spoke up. You lost what you stole. Clara spun toward me. You always made me feel small. You were the perfect cousin, the smart one, the responsible one. I just wanted to catch up. The room fell silent. I looked her straight in the eye. You could have asked for help. You could have apologized. But instead, you blamed me for stopping the bleeding. Clara started crying. My aunt dabbed at her cheeks like she was a pageant coach. The judge cleared his throat. Miss Miller, do you have a final statement? I stood again. My hands no longer shook. Your Honour, I didn't want this. I never wanted to stand in a courtroom explaining why the people I trusted most treated me like a credit card. But they did. They drained my savings. They forged my name. They ruined my credit. And then they blamed me for not letting them continue. My voice didn't crack, not once. I'm not here out of vengeance. I'm here because boundaries mean nothing to them unless they come with consequences. The judge nodded. Thank you. This court will take a short recess before delivering a decision. As I stepped down, I passed my family's bench. Clara whispered, You've destroyed us. I whispered back, No. You did that all on your own. The ruling came after 20 minutes that felt like 20 years. This court finds in favour of the plaintiff, Dana Miller, the judge said. Identity theft is not a misunderstanding. It is fraud, and it will be treated accordingly. He banged the gavel once. Clara burst into sobs. My aunt's jaw clenched like stone. My uncle slumped in his chair. The judge continued. This ruling includes restitution, the formal reversal of fraudulent accounts, and a fraud marker placed on all future credit activity involving the defendants. Outside reporters waited. Apparently Clara's GoFundMe drama had leaked to a local paper. A microphone appeared. Miss Miller, do you feel vindicated? No, I said, I feel free. I walked past the cameras without stopping. In the parking lot, Evan was waiting with a coffee and a crooked grin. How'd it go? He asked. I won. He offered the cup. That's not even the best part. I blinked. What do you mean? He pulled out his phone and showed me a screenshot. It was a message from Clara's former roommate. Hey, just wanted to say I saw your story and I believe you. She tried to use my info last year too. I still have the texts. Let me know if you need a witness. I stared at the screen. Looks like you weren't her only target, Evan said. You were just the one who finally said no. 1 month later, I stood in my new living room barefoot on polished hardwood floors, surrounded by unopened boxes and the sound of silence. Real silence. Not the silence of being ignored, or used, or quietly resented, but the kind that says, this space is mine, every square inch. The closing had gone through 2 days after the judge's ruling. The mortgage broker said my new credit rating was already recovering thanks to the court documents proving identity theft. That binder I lugged into Courtworth every late night and nervous stomach. Outside, movers hauled away what little furniture I kept. I'd sold the rest, a symbolic purge, fresh space, fresh start. Behind me, Lanny let out a low whistle. Girl, I cannot believe this is yours. Like I can, but I'm still going to be obnoxiously impressed. Evan stepped in with 2 grocery bags and a bottle of champagne. We brought snacks and ice cream. Because you earned this. I laughed for real this time. Did I, though? Or did karma just get tired of waiting? He shrugged. Either way, the scoreboard says Dana won. Family freeloaders permanently bankrupt. I checked my phone. Not for texts. I'd blocked them all. No more voicemails from Clara crying. No more guilt traps from my aunt. No more weak apologies that were really just new requests in disguise. Instead, I had an email from a fraud prevention conference in San Diego. Subject, we'd love to have you speak. Apparently, someone on the committee saw my now viral post. They wanted me to do a talk on personal boundaries, financial autonomy, and surviving family betrayal with your dignity and credit score intact. I reread the line, your story is exactly the kind of empowerment we want to showcase. I couldn't help but smile. That was new. Because for most of my life, I wasn't the person who inspired anything. I was the one in the background, the one cleaning up, the one adjusting her dreams to make room for someone else's crisis. Not anymore. Lanny handed me a glass of champagne. To your new life. Evan raised his, and to your family who can now legally no longer contact you. We clinked glasses. I took a long sip. It tasted like freedom. The final blow came through a foreclosure notice. My aunt and uncle's house, yes, that house, the one Clara posed in for her lifestyle posts, was officially going up for auction. Turns out, coasting on someone else's finances only works until that person installs a firewall. Clara posted a black screen on Instagram with the caption, "You'll all regret turning on me, especially you, Dana." I didn't reply. Let her scream into the void. She'd applied to 6 companies under fake names. All of them flagged her after background checks. One of the HR directors even forwarded me the email where Clara listed me again as a reference. Bold, but stupid. Meanwhile, I got promoted, officially. New title, Senior Risk Analyst. Same company, but now I had a team. A salary that didn't make me panic when I opened my banking app. And best of all, health insurance I could actually use for myself. The day I signed the offer letter, I threw a housewarming party. Small, just Lani, Evan and a few trusted friends. No speeches, no drama, just music, tacos and wine. At some point, Lanny pulled me onto the back porch lit by fairy lights we strung up last minute. She leaned against the railing. So what are you going to do now, like long term? I looked out at the dark horizon, quiet except for the occasional breeze. I'm going to write a new story. She grinned. Tell me how it starts. I took a breath. It starts with a woman who spent most of her life paying the price for other people's dreams. Until one day she finally realized she didn't owe them anything. Not her money, not her silence, not her forgiveness. Lani raised her glass again, to the woman who stopped apologizing for being enough. We toasted again. This time I didn't think of Clara, or my aunt's tears, or my uncle's empty promises. I thought of the little girl I used to be, the one who gave up birthday money for her cousin's shoes, who was told she was selfish every time she asked for space, who believed love meant sacrifice, even if it bled you dry. That girl deserved better. And now she had it. Weeks later, I stood in a sunny room with a microphone clipped to my blazer. The conference hall was packed. Rows of chairs, bright stage lights. I adjusted the mic. My palms weren't even sweating. "Hi," I said, my voice echoing across the space. "My name is Dana, and I used to think being responsible meant staying quiet." A few nods in the front row. I was wrong. Sometimes the most responsible thing you can do is draw a line and say this far, no further. Applause, real applause. Afterward, people lined up to shake my hand, share their own stories. I wasn't alone. And that was worth more than any apology my family never gave me. On the flight home, I watched clouds drift past the window, thinking how strange it was that peace isn't loud. It doesn't arrive in explosions or confessions. It creeps in softly, with every boundary you don't feel guilty for enforcing. Every moment you choose rest over reaction. Every time you say no and mean it. They say revenge is best served cold. But I think healing is best served quiet, Because now when I walk into my home, there's no tension, no fear, no expectation that I'm about to be asked for something I didn't offer. There's just me, my art on the walls, my name on the deed, and no one else's fingerprints on my future. Story 2, I didn't think a birthday party could flip my entire world upside down. But when it's your younger brother's party and you're expected to foot the $3 $100 bill without so much as a thank you, yeah, it hits different. I'm Nate, 33, software developer, mostly quiet, always the fallback guy, the fixer, the responsible one. That's who I've been since I was 15. And apparently to my parents, I'm also the family ATM. This all started 2 weeks ago when I got a text from my mum. No greeting, no pleasantries, just this. Evan's dinner is on Saturday at 6. Dress nicely, you'll cover the bill after. Oh, and don't forget a gift. That was it. No hope you can come. No would you be okay helping out. Just orders. Like I'm the event planner and bankrolled sponsor of Evan's royal coronation. Evan is my 23-year-old brother. He's charming, magnetic, and allergic to responsibility. He's had 5 jobs in 2 years' lives, rent-free at home, and just took a break from school for the 3rd time. Meanwhile, he somehow finds time for beach getaways and designer sneakers. But hey, he's the baby, and apparently that makes him royalty. Still I went. Of course I did. Because even after everything, a small part of me thought maybe this time they'd treat me like family, not a funding source. Spoiler alert, they didn't. When I got to the restaurant, this ridiculously overpriced rooftop spot with glowing menus and gold napkin rings, I realised something. They hadn't saved me a seat. Every chair was taken. I hovered awkwardly near the bar until my mum waved me down and said, "Just find somewhere to squeeze in." I stared at her. "It's a private table. Where do I sit?" She shrugged, barely looking up from her wine glass. "You always figure things out." That phrase, God, I've heard it a million times. Figure things out is code for deal with it, because we won't. I was 2 seconds from leaving when Evan spotted me. He grinned, leaned back in his chair like a king on a throne, and shouted across the room, "Nate, you didn't forget my gift, did you?" I smiled, but it wasn't warm. "You'll see," I said, and took the only available seat on a bench near the kitchen door. I didn't eat much, just nursed a drink and watched the spectacle unfold. Champagne fountains, custom cake from New York, a slideshow of Evan's greatest hits that featured more shirtless gym pics than actual accomplishments. Then the moment came. A delivery guy wheeled in a massive box on a dolly. Heads turned, phones came out, I stood up. "Delivery for Nathaniel Porter," he asked. "That's me." Whispers swirled like smoke. Someone muttered, "Damn, Nate went all out." Evan's eyes sparkled like a kid on Christmas morning. "Yo, that for me." I smiled and nodded. Was. And then I took out my phone and cancelled the order. The delivery guy blinked. Sir." "Change of plans," I said. "Take it back." The entire room fell silent. Forks froze mid-air. Evan shot up like I'd slapped him. "You're kidding." "Nope." That was my gift. "And I wasn't even invited properly," I replied. "Didn't have a seat. Wasn't greeted. You want a scooter? Pay for it yourself." My mom hissed my name under her breath, eyes darting like I'd just ruined her PR campaign. Dad stood up trying to mediate. "Nate, come on, you could at least help split the check." I glanced at the receipt he slid toward me, 3 122s. I laughed, couldn't help it. "You're serious?" "You make good money," Dad said, as if that justified everything. "We just thought that I'd pay, as usual." I stood up. My voice wasn't loud, but it cut like a razor. "Let me ask you something. When I turned 23, what did you guys do?" Silence. "Exactly. I was pulling double shifts at 2 jobs while finishing my degree. You sent a text that said, 'Happy B-Day,' and forgot to sign it." My mum's smile stiffened. "That was different. We were going through a tough time." "And now that you're doing better, you're still treating me like a wallet," I said. I pushed the bill back toward my dad. "This one's on the Golden Boy. I'm out." As I walked away, Evan shouted after me, "You're such a drama queen." I didn't turn around. Because I wasn't mad. I was done. But the real punch didn't come until 3 days later. It was a Wednesday. I was working from home when I got a call from my mom. "Hey, sweetheart," she said, voice dripping with artificial sweetness. "I've been thinking. Evan's lease ends soon and he's been looking for a place. You know that condo you just bought 3 bedrooms is a lot for one person? I didn't even respond, just waited. And we were thinking maybe you could transfer it to him. You're not even using the guest rooms. I blinked. You want me to sign over my condo? She laughed like I was being ridiculous. Not forever. Just help him get started. Once he's stable, he'll pay you rent. Like the birthday party. Pause. Then her voice turned sharper. I'm surprised at how selfish you're being, Nathaniel. I hung up, and that's when the floodgates opened. Texts, missed calls, a group chat explosion. Dad chimed in. Evan sent voice notes telling me I was bitter and controlling. Even my aunt messaged me to say, family helps each other. But I wasn't angry. I was just done being used. That night I sat on my balcony with a whiskey in hand and looked out at the city skyline. A thought hit me like thunder. I'd never said no before. Not really. I'd always found a way to squeeze in somewhere to figure it out to make peace. But peace at the expense of your dignity, that's not peace. That's surrender. And I wasn't surrendering anymore. After I hung up on my mom, I expected the silence. That wasn't new. Guilt was their favourite weapon, and silence was how they loaded it. What I didn't expect was for the silence to feel so peaceful. No knocks on my door, no dinner invites with strings attached, no passive-aggressive check-ins disguised as concern. Just quiet. And in that quiet, the truth started echoing louder. They didn't miss me. They missed what I gave them. Money, time, emotional labour, availability. Let's rewind, because this wasn't about one birthday dinner or a condo request. This had been building for over a decade. Growing up, I was the fixer, not because I chose to be, but because I had to be. Mom had Evan when she was older, our little surprise, she'd say, with a glowing smile. Everyone doted on him like he was a miracle. Meanwhile, I was expected to be grateful for hand-me-downs and life lessons. When Evan got a B in school, it was he's doing his best. When I got straight A's, it was you should tutor your brother. When he crashed the family car, they said boys will be boys. When I refused to lend him my laptop for the 3rd time, they called me selfish. I got into college with a scholarship. Still had to work nights to cover what the aid didn't. I came home for breaks and found Evan's new gaming chair sitting in my old bedroom. My stuff packed into boxes, like I'd already moved out of the family's priority list. But I kept giving because I thought love was something you earned. Like maybe if I just worked a little harder, helped a little more, they'd look at me the way they looked at him. It never happened. After college, I landed a job at a mid-sized tech firm and moved back in while saving for a place. Rent was brutal, and I was working 60-hour weeks, sometimes coding, until 3 a.m. That's when my dad sat me down and said, "You're a grown man now. You should start pulling your weight." I blinked. I pay for groceries and my own phone bill. He smiled like a manager firing you before lunch. "We think $2,000 a month is fair." Evan still living rent-free, still unemployed. I paid. For almost a year, until I moved out and bought a tiny studio on the edge of town. My parents visited once. Only once. Mom said it was too small to entertain. I never invited them back. But still I paid Evan's parking tickets when he called crying. I co-signed a lease for his first car. I even paid off one of his credit cards when he said he was getting his life together. Every time I hoped it'd be the last, that he'd finally stand on his own, that maybe they'd finally see me. But the only time they called was when something was broken, and I was always the one expected to fix it. The scooter incident just pulled back the curtain, the condo request that ripped it off the rod. 3 days after the call, I got another message. This one from my dad. "You're being dramatic. We raised you better than this." The irony hit so hard I nearly dropped my phone. They didn't raise me, they managed me. Trained me to be useful, not loved. And for the first time in my life, I wanted to unlearn all of it. I started going through old photos. Me at my graduation, Evan not in the frame because he overslept. Me at a work event holding a trophy, no messages from them that day. Every major moment of my life felt like it had been quietly erased unless it somehow benefited Evan. I remembered my 29th birthday. I took myself to dinner alone, sent them a photo of my meal. They never replied. Meanwhile, Evan's birthday had cake flown in from a different time zone. They weren't hiding the favoritism, they just assumed I'd tolerate it. Forever. That week something changed in me. It wasn't anger, not even sadness. It was resolve. I started locking down everything with my name on it. The condo took Evan off the emergency contact list. My will updated, just in case. I switched banks, changed my passwords, called my accountant and told him to block any inquiries from family members, even if they say it's urgent, I said, especially if they say it's urgent. He didn't ask questions, just nodded. Then I did something that felt ceremonial. I took the photo of me and Evan, one that used to sit on my desk, him throwing an arm over my shoulder like we were equals, and put it away. Not in the trash, just out of sight, because I wasn't angry. I was detaching. The calls from my parents slowed, then stopped. I didn't chase them, but they weren't done yet. A week later I got a letter in the mail, not an email, an actual envelope handwritten. It was from my mum, inside a birthday card for Evan, except it was blank inside. Nothing addressed to me, no explanation, just a subtle reminder. This family runs on Evan, and if you won't play your part, you'll be left out of the script entirely. I stared at it for a long time. Then I lit a match and watched it burn in a ceramic bowl. No rage, just release. But I knew it wasn't over. 'Cause people like my parents, they don't take rejection. They take it personally. And when they realise their golden boy can't keep the lights on without the sun they kept in the shadows, they come crawling. But I wouldn't be waiting with open arms. I'd be waiting with boundaries. It had been almost 2 months since I walked out of that restaurant and stopped playing the role of Big Brother Bottomless Wallet Edition. I'd stopped checking my phone every hour. I didn't rehearse imaginary arguments in the shower anymore. I slept better, deeper. Until a Sunday afternoon when my phone rang and her name popped up on the screen. Mom! I stared at it, felt nothing, then picked up. Hi, Nate, she said, like we hadn't had a nuclear fallout weeks earlier, like nothing had ever happened. Hi. A beat of silence. Then she dropped it. We need your help. There it was. Not an apology, not a check-in. Just a direct route back to the usual script. I waited. It's Evan, she continued. He's starting something exciting. He wants to launch a business. I should have hung up right then, but I didn't. What kind of business? A coffee bar, but elevated, she said, like she'd rehearsed the pitch. It'll have live music, artisan pastries, branded merchandise. He even has a vision board. I raised an eyebrow. That's great. What does it have to do with me? Well, she said he's found a space he likes, downtown, but the rent is high, and he needs some capital to get started. How much? Her voice got a little smaller. 60,000. I almost dropped the phone. 60, I repeated slowly, as if maybe I'd misheard. Yes, but think of it as an investment, she added quickly. You could even be listed as a co-owner if you want. I almost laughed. You want me to hand over 60K to someone who's never held a job for longer than a semester? He's matured, she said. You'd be surprised. I shook my head. What about a loan or a bank or crazy idea, his own savings? He doesn't have that kind of credit, she admitted. And why is that my problem? Her voice hardened. He's your brother. No, I said. He's your project. She took a breath, then tried again. Nate, you've always been the responsible one. You're doing well. It's not like you can't afford it. And that's exactly why you're calling, I said. You miss the version of me who never said no. She didn't deny it. Just said your father and I talked. If you help him, we'd be willing to sign the house over to you eventually. That made me pause. You're offering me my childhood home. We're getting older, she said. It makes sense, and you always loved that house. I looked out at my condo mine, fully paid, fully earned, and laughed quietly. You're trying to bribe me with a house I was never allowed to call mine when I lived there. Nathaniel, let me save you the trouble, I said. I'll give him the 60K, but there's a condition. Silence. I let it sit. Go on, she said finally. If he doesn't pay it back within a year with interest, the deed to your house becomes mine. No excuses, no extensions. Dead quiet. Then that house is your father's legacy. Exactly. So maybe think carefully before asking me to fund someone else's. She hung up without saying goodbye. 3 days later, I got a call from Evan. I didn't even know he still had my number. Bro, he said, what the hell? Hi, Evan. You told Mom I'd lose the house if I can't pay you back. I did. He exploded. Are you serious right now? You're going to screw over the whole family just because you're mad? No, I said calmly. I'm offering you an opportunity. You want to be an entrepreneur, prove you can deliver. You know, I can't get that kind of money in a year. Then you know what happens. This is so petty. No, I said. Petty would have been showing up at your party and pulling the fire alarm. He swore at me and hung up. But that wasn't the end. Because things started unravelling faster than even I expected. Without my monthly donations, my parents started falling behind. I heard from a mutual cousin that they cut cable. Then groceries got lean. Then Evan's car got repossessed. He started doing food delivery part-time, complained about the app, blamed the customers, switched to bartending, quit 2 weeks later. Meanwhile, I was thriving. I took a solo trip to Lisbon. I upgraded my office chair and finally got that espresso machine I'd been eyeing for months. I even joined a rock climbing gym, not because I wanted to become an athlete, just because it made me feel alive. The silence from my family had shifted. It wasn't cold anymore. It was heavy. They were hoping I'd come around. They didn't know I already had. Around the time they used me, 6 months after the call, I got an envelope in the mail, certified. It was from my parents' lawyer. Inside a notice. They were selling the house. Apparently they'd refinanced it twice, took out loans on top of it. Evan's startup debt had swallowed them whole. No one told me. I only knew because the lawyer was required to notify me, since I was listed in a tentative estate document my parents had half filled out 2 years ago. I stared at the letter for a long time, then put it in the drawer, and went on with my day. The next week I got a text from an unknown number. "I hope you're proud. We're losing everything. Dad." I read it, didn't reply. Not because I didn't care, but because caring doesn't mean you have to rescue people from their own decisions. That was the lesson I should have learned years ago. But I'm learning it now. Better late than broke. 3 weeks after the lawyer's notice, I drove by the old house. I wasn't planning to. I'd taken a different exit by accident, and suddenly there it was. Chipped paint on the shutters, overgrown weeds, an empty for sale sign staked in the front yard like a surrender flag. It didn't look like the place I grew up. It looked hollow, like them. I didn't stop. Didn't slow down for nostalgia's sake. Just kept driving. Because I wasn't that boy anymore, the one who begged to be seen, who handed over paychecks hoping to buy a place at the table. That house wasn't home. I was. A few days later I got a letter in the mail. Not from my parents. From Evan. Typed oddly formal, folded carefully. "Nate, I won't waste your time. I messed up. I was entitled. I was lazy. And yeah, I took advantage of you. We all did. Mom and Dad won't say it, but you were never just the backup plan. You were the backbone. You kept everything running while the rest of us played pretend. I don't expect forgiveness, but I hope someday you'll believe that I'm trying to be better. I'm applying for a warehouse job, full-time, no dreams, no schemes, just trying to grow up finally. I hope you're doing well. Evan." I read it twice. It wasn't flowery, it wasn't desperate. It was honest. And for the first time I believed him. I didn't write back. Not because I was angry. Because there was nothing left to say. Sometimes closure isn't about conversations. It's about the silence you no longer fear. It's been nearly a year since the birthday party that cracked the mask. A year since the scooter, the bill, the condo request, the 60k opportunity. A year since I chose peace over proximity. And it was the best decision I've ever made. I don't talk to my parents. Not because I'm punishing them, but because I finally accepted the truth. They don't want a relationship. They want access. There's a difference. And now I don't give access to people who only knock when they need something. My life now, it's quiet. Not lonely, just free. I work, I travel, I read books I never had time for. I go hiking on Sundays, I bake bread I used to think was too complicated. I spend money on things that matter to me, not things that make other people temporarily satisfied. I set boundaries, and I keep them. That part's key. Because the first time you say no, people lose their minds. But the second time, they start to believe you mean it. The third, they stop asking. Last month, my aunt, the only one I still talk to, sent me a photo. It was from Evan's new job, him in a uniform, hair tied back, holding a clipboard and actually smiling. She said he's rough around the edges, but he shows up on time now, doesn't ask for handouts. I didn't know how to feel. Proud, maybe. But not because I helped. Because I finally stopped. That's the irony. The moment I let go of trying to fix him, he started fixing himself. Sometimes enabling someone is just disguised sabotage. And sometimes love looks like distance. I keep that photo on my fridge, not to forgive, but to remind myself that change is possible even for the people we think are hopeless. But only when they run out of lifelines. And that's why I don't regret any of it. Not the scooter, not the confrontation, not the silence that followed. because if I'd kept giving, none of us would have grown. The last message I got from my dad came in the form of a forwarded email. No subject line, just a link. It was the Zillow listing for the house. Sold, below asking price. Final buyer note needs repairs. I stared at it for a while. Not because I missed it, because I didn't. And that surprised me. I expected heartbreak. I got relief. I closed the tab and went for a walk. Let the sun hit my face and the wind remind me what breathing feels like when no one's pulling your strings. If you've ever been the dependable one, the strong one, the one who always pays, always shows up, always keeps the family from crumbling, I see you. And I'll say what I wish someone had told me 10 years ago. You're allowed to leave. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to stop showing up to battles that were never yours to fight. Because love without respect isn't love. It's leverage. And no amount of blood ties justifies being drained. I still get the occasional message from people I haven't blocked. Some ask if I'll ever reconcile with my parents. Others say I should be the bigger person. But here's what they don't understand. I already was, for years. I was big enough to carry the emotional load for 4 people. Big enough to foot the bills, smooth over arguments, play mediator and provider and punching bag all in one. Walking away didn't make me small. It made me free. And freedom tastes a lot better than forced loyalty. So now I build a life where I'm not someone's plan B, where I'm not a fallback or a fixer or a cash machine. I build a life where the only people at my table are the ones who brought chairs of their own. And every time I sip coffee in my own kitchen in a condo I paid for without hearing guilt in the background, that's the real birthday gift. Mine, not Evan's. And for once I don't owe it to anyone but myself. Final line, they lost their Golden Boys sponsor. I found my peace. Seems like a fair trade. Story 3. My name's Mason. I'm 25. And apparently that's too young to be treated like the adult who pays everyone's bills. I didn't always plan to be the online income guy. I grew up in a rough part of New Jersey where success meant holding a steady job and never asking questions. My dad, Ron, was the neighborhood mechanic. Grease-stained hands, boots that never left the porch, and a temper you could set your watch to. He had this old-school code work, hard suffer silently, and if your kid grows up doing something different, well, they're weak. I idolized him, seriously. I'd sit on the curb as a kid and watch him fix cars with nothing but a wrench and some furious muttering. He'd call me kiddo and tell me stories about how he never missed a day of work, even with pneumonia. He was proud of that, said pain builds character, and for a while I believed him, but life didn't play out the way he expected. See, when I turned 18, I didn't go to trade school or follow his path. I taught myself how to build websites, then apps, then how to market them. By 21, I was earning more than he made in 5 years, from a laptop, in my room, with music blasting and a hoodie on. At first I thought he'd be proud. He wasn't. You spend your days clicking buttons and you think that's work, he scoffed. I laughed it off, figured he was just teasing, but it didn't stop. Every time I paid for groceries or fixed something around the house, he'd mutter something like, must be nice having fake money, or guess the internet prints checks now. At first I let it slide. He was old school, right? But the deeper I stepped into adulthood, the clearer it became. He didn't just not understand what I did. He resented it. The tension was quiet at first, snide comments, dismissive shrugs. But when I started helping out financially, really helping, it turned into something uglier. I was still living at home even though I didn't have to. I stayed because Mum was always anxious about bills and my little brother Evan needed help with college apps. So I paid the electric bill, covered rent, bought Evan a used laptop when his stopped working. I didn't expect applause, just a bit of respect. I didn't get that either. One night I walked into the kitchen and found my dad flipping through the mail. He waved a bill in my face. Water's due, he said flatly, since you're the provider now. The way he said provider made my skin crawl. I paused. I'm happy to pay it, but you could have just asked. He sneered. Didn't want to disturb your gaming session, boss man. I wanted to snap back. Instead, I just paid the bill online in silence, again. Then came his 55th birthday. Mum wanted to throw him a surprise dinner at the community centre. I said I'd cover the cost. Food, drinks, decorations, the whole thing. She was grateful. He didn't say a word about it. But I still had this crazy idea that maybe if I gave him something meaningful, something that said thank you for everything, we could start over. So I wrote him a check for $25,000. Not because he asked, not because he needed it, but because I meant it. I appreciated the way he raised us, even if he didn't always know how to show love. And I figured maybe if he saw the fruits of that in his own son's success, it'd mean something. The night of the party, everyone was there. Old friends, neighbours, people I hadn't seen since high school. There was music, food, laughter. And in the middle of it, I handed him the envelope. He opened it, looked at the number and froze. Then he laughed. Loud, harsh, like I just handed him a rubber chicken. "You serious?" he asked, waving the check around like it was a joke. "What is this, some kind of handout?" I blinked. "No, it's a gift. I just wanted to say thanks for everything." He looked me in the eye, then slowly tore the check in half. Then again. The pieces fell to the floor like confetti. "Thanks, but I'm not some charity case, Mason," he said. "You don't get to buy your way into being a real man." Everyone went quiet. I could hear someone put their drink down behind me. I felt like the floor disappeared under me. My ears rang. My hands were cold. Evan whispered, "Dude, just sit down." I didn't. I forced a smile, picked up the pieces, folded them in my fist. "Got it," I said, loud and clear. I walked out of the room and didn't look back. That night I packed a bag, and the next morning I moved into a rental apartment downtown. No note, no announcement, just gone. Because I finally realised no matter how much I gave, I'd never be enough for a man who hated the way I succeeded. And honestly, I was done trying to prove it. Moving out should have felt like freedom. But in those first few days, it felt more like silence. No noise, no demands. Just the hum of the fridge in a half-furnished apartment and me scrolling rental apps at 3 a.m. because I wasn't sleeping anyway. I didn't tell anyone where I went. Not my mom. Not Evan, not even my cousins. I wanted distance, not because I hated them, but because I finally understood how much pretending had been draining me. And for a while the silence was golden, until the call started. First it was 1 missed call from my mom, then 3, then 5. Then Evan sent a text. "Hey, you might want to call home, Dad's losing it." I didn't reply. A day later I woke up to 14 missed calls. Mom, Dad, even Aunt Lacey. Then this message from Dad, "Power's out, guess you're proud." That one stung more than I wanted to admit. But I still didn't answer. Not because I was punishing them. I was finally protecting myself. See, while I was gone, they realised something I had known for years, but never said out loud. I wasn't just a son to them. I was the safety net, the guy who covered the difference, quietly, always. I stopped paying the bills the moment I left. I figured if I was just a walking wallet to them, then maybe they'd notice when the wallet walked away. Apparently they did. Evan finally called me directly. "Look, I know Dad was an arse," he said, voice low, like he didn't want anyone to hear. "But things are bad, Mason, like Mom's crying every night. Dad's blaming everyone. We don't even have hot water." I rubbed my temples. "What do you want me to do, Ev?" "I don't know," he sighed. "Just check in, for her at least." I didn't agree, but I did call. Mom picked up fast. Her voice cracked before she even said my name. "Mason, oh thank God, are you okay? Where are you?" "I'm fine," I said. "I just needed space." There was a pause. "You didn't even say goodbye." I closed my eyes. Would it have mattered? Another pause. "Your father's under a lot of pressure." There it was, the excuse, the shield. The same line she used every time he lashed out, shut down, or took his frustration out on the rest of us. "Mom," I said gently. He tore up a check, in front of everyone, then told me I wasn't a man. "I know," she whispered. "It was awful." Silence. "But we're struggling, Mason. We're behind on rent. Evan's school fees are late. I don't know what to do." And just like that, the guilt started crawling back in, the old reflex. But I fought it this time. "Mom, I can't fix everything anymore. Not if I'm going to stay sane. I'm not asking you to fix it," she said softly. "Just help. A little. Just until things stabilize." I sighed. I'm not saying no, but if I do this, there need to be rules. That was the first time I set a boundary. I offered to send over enough to cover the power and 1 month of rent. I even Venmo'd it to her directly. No drama, no big gesture, just practical help. She thanked me. Dad didn't call. Not once. But Evan did. He said, "You're being manipulative," he told me, "that you're only helping to feel superior." I laughed, bitter and short. I helped in silence for 3 years, never said a word. Funny how now I'm suddenly the manipulative one. Evan didn't defend him, just changed the subject. Then the real twist happened. My mom called again a few weeks later, said Dad's truck needed repairs, major ones, over $2,000, and asked if I could spot it. I almost said yes. Almost. Until she added, "He's too proud to ask you himself, but we both know you're doing well." There it was again, the same pattern. No ownership, just expectation. So I said, "Tell him to sell the boat." There was a long silence, then she hung up. I didn't hear from them again for almost a month. And for a while things got quiet again. I started taking on more freelance clients, upgraded my desk setup, joined a gym. For the first time in years, I felt like my life belonged to me. Then one morning I got a knock on my door. It was Evan, hoodie, backpack, eyes tired. "Can I stay here for a few days?" he asked. I let him in without asking why, made him some tea, gave him the couch, and once he settled in, he said the words I didn't expect to hear. "I'm done too." He looked down. "Dad told me to drop out and start working full-time, said school's a waste of time, that I was soft like you." I flinched a little at that. "He's not angry at you, Mason, he's ashamed." Of what I asked, that I made it. "No, that you did it without needing him." That hit harder than I wanted to admit. We stayed up late that night just talking, sharing things we never did under that roof. Evan told me how Dad never asked about his grades, how Mom kept everything together with glue and denial, how my absence wasn't just noticed, it was felt. And then Evan asked me something that caught me off guard. "Would you help me get into the transfer program at NYIT?" I blinked. "You're serious?" He nodded. "I want out, not just of the house, of the cycle." I smiled. "Let's do it." That night something shifted. Helping Evan didn't feel like enabling. It felt like breaking a curse. Things with Evan started to look up. He got accepted into the transfer program. I helped him move into a shared dorm across town. Bought him a used car so he could work part-time between classes. He tried to protest, but I shut it down. "I'm not doing this to buy your respect," I said. "I'm doing it so you don't end up resenting your own life." He nodded. "I get it now." For once, helping felt good. Clean, no strings, no manipulation. But peace never lasts long when you're tied to people who think your success is a threat. 3 weeks after Evan moved out, I got another call from my mum. She sounded anxious, tense. "Your father's meeting with the bank didn't go well," she said. "The house might be foreclosed." I sighed. "Here we go again." "You need to help him," she continued. "Please. If they take the house, we have nowhere to go." I rubbed my temples. "Mum, I can't keep bailing him out of situations he created. He hasn't worked full-time in almost a year. His back is acting up," she said quickly. "He's been in pain. He's also been refusing to sell his boat, remember," I said. "The one worth at least $10,000. That pain must not reach the marina." She didn't say anything. Then she said, "You don't understand what this house means to him." And I snapped. "No, Mum, I do. It means pride. That's all it's ever meant. Even when I paid the taxes 3 years ago, even when I covered the roof repairs, even when I was the one paying for groceries and being called lazy for working from a laptop." She tried to backtrack, but I'd had enough. "I'll help one more time," I said, "but it's a loan, written, signed with terms." Mason. No debate, no shame, no surprises. A week later, we were in a lawyer's office. My dad didn't say a word when I walked in, just sat there, arms folded, jaw tight. My mom was red-eyed and silent. The lawyer slid the contract across the table. $30,000, enough to stop the foreclosure, monthly payments, legal action if breached. "This is a family, not a business," Dad muttered. "And yet you've treated me like a credit card for years," I replied. He glared. "You think money makes you better?" "No," I said, "but it sure makes me valuable to you, doesn't it?" The silence after that said everything. Eventually they signed. I transferred the money. I didn't hear from them for a month. No updates, no check-ins, no payments. On the 1st of the next month I waited. Nothing. By the 15th, still nothing. I texted my mom. Where's the payment? She replied the next day. It's been hard. Please don't pressure your father. I gave them another 2 weeks. Then I called. No answer. Then I texted. Still nothing. I waited until the grace period was over, then I made my choice. I filed a lawsuit. This time it wasn't out of anger. It was self-respect. I warned them. I gave them structure. They ignored it. So I followed through. 3 weeks later, I got served with an official response from their attorney. They were contesting the loan, said they signed under emotional stress, claimed it wasn't legally valid. That broke something in me. It wasn't just about the money now. It was the betrayal, the audacity. I hired a lawyer. The court date was set. And word got out. Family started calling. Friends sent vague Facebook messages. My Aunt Rita wrote, no matter what they did, they're still your parents. Right. Parents who saw my worth only when it came with a bank transfer. The day of the hearing, my mom looked like she hadn't slept. My dad smug, dressed like he was being honoured, not sued. He even leaned over to me before the judge entered and said, "You won't win." I said nothing. The judge opened with the basics timeline, claim, counterclaim. My lawyer laid it out clearly, the contract, the terms, the breach. Then it was Dad's turn. He stood up and gave the performance of a lifetime. Said I ambushed them. Said I held their home hostage. That I was a disrespectful son chasing power. My mother cried during his speech. I watched without blinking. When it was my turn, I stood. I didn't ask to be their provider, I said. I just kept stepping up when no one else would. I paid bills. I kept lights on. I never asked for a thank you. But the moment I stopped, they turned on me. The judge nodded. And the contract? They signed it voluntarily, in a neutral legal office with full review. I slid over printed emails, text confirmations, payment receipts, silence. The ruling came quickly. I won. They were ordered to repay the $30,000 in full through sale or settlement. The house went up for sale 2 months later. I got my money back. They got to stay with Aunt Rita in a 2-bedroom condo. A week after the sale, my dad left me a voicemail. Short, bitter. Hope the money keeps you warm. I deleted it without listening to the end. It's strange how peace doesn't arrive like a celebration. It creeps in slowly in little things, the quiet hum of your own space, waking up without dread. No voicemails filled with blame, no backhanded texts disguised as love. Just silence. After the lawsuit, everything changed, but not in the way I thought it would. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't want to pop champagne or post a cryptic quote on Facebook. I just wanted to breathe without guilt. The money came back in full. The house was sold. The final payment was wired into my account 2 days before Christmas. That same day, I got a letter, handwritten, no return address, but I knew the handwriting. My dad. The first line read, "You may have won the case, but you lost your family." I didn't read the rest. I folded the paper, set it on the counter, and made myself dinner. It wasn't anger anymore. It wasn't grief. It was detachment, and not the cold kind, the healing kind. The kind that says, I'm done fighting battles where I'm the only one bleeding. In January, Evan came by to visit. He'd just finished his first semester at NYIT and looked lighter, happier. He brought his grades unprompted and showed me his GPA. 3.7. Not bad for the soft son, he joked. I grinned. Dad would say you padded your classes. Yeah, Evan laughed, but at least he can't take the credit now. We talked for hours. No tension, no obligation. Just two brothers figuring out who they were outside the shadows they grew up in. And before he left, he said something that's stuck with me ever since. You didn't break the family, Mason. You stopped the bleeding. I didn't cry, but something inside me softened. Because he was right. I'd spent so long trying to earn respect through sacrifice, and when that didn't work, I thought maybe distance would fix it, then silence, then money, then legal boundaries. But the truth was, no amount of giving would have changed a family that only loved me for what I gave, not who I was. That spring I moved again, new city, new start. I didn't leave a forwarding address. Mom tried to call once in April. I let it ring out. She left a voicemail. I just wanted to say I miss you. Your father still won't talk about anything, but Evan said you're doing okay. I hope that's true. She paused. I don't expect a call back. I just wanted you to know that. And weirdly, I appreciated that. Not because it fixed anything, but because it didn't ask for anything. That was the first time she reached out without a price tag attached. I didn't call back, but I didn't delete it either. Sometimes growth isn't loud, sometimes it's just not reacting. I focused on myself that year. I launched a mentorship program for young entrepreneurs with non-traditional backgrounds, kids like me who had ideas but no support, who got mocked for doing things differently. The first class had 18 people. One of them wrote me this after the course ended. "You made me believe I didn't need my dad's approval to succeed." That message hit me harder than any court win or deposit ever could, because that was the thing I'd spent years chasing, not money, not pride. Validation. And here it was, from a stranger. Validation rooted in being not just doing. In June, Evan called me on a random Tuesday night. "You know what I realised," he said. "Dad hated your success, not because he didn't understand it, but because it didn't require his blueprint." I sat with that, because it was true. My father believed in one path: pain equals respect, struggle equals value. If you didn't bleed for your money, it didn't count. And when I didn't follow that script, he took it personally. Not because I failed him, but because I didn't need him to succeed. And that was the one thing his ego couldn't handle. The final message came on a cloudy Sunday in July. Another handwritten letter. Shorter this time, from my father. "I don't regret raising you, but I do regret how things ended. If you ever want to talk, the door's open." No signature, just those 2 lines. I folded the note and slid it into a box in my closet, the one where I keep things I no longer carry emotionally, but can't quite throw away. I never responded, not out of spite, but because sometimes closure doesn't come in a conversation. Sometimes it's just the decision not to walk back through a door you had to build the courage to close. Today my peace looks like this. A small apartment filled with things I bought for myself. A brother who calls me just to talk, not to ask for anything. A bank account with my name on it and no one else's fingers in it. A family I chose, built from friends, mentors, and people who see me as whole without having to earn it. And when people ask me what happened between me and my parents, I just say, I stopped financing the dysfunction. Because the truth is, I didn't cut them off over a check, or a birthday, or even a lawsuit. I walked away because they only valued me when I was easy to use. And now, I'm not easy to use. I'm grounded, clear, free. So if you're reading this and you've ever been made to feel guilty for your success, if your parents only show up when they need help, if you've been made to feel less than for building a life they don't understand, let this be your reminder. You don't owe anyone your silence, your money, or your peace, especially not the people who mistake your kindness for weakness. You're allowed to draw the line, and you're allowed to never look back.